Sunday people, how are you doing? And welcome to my match reaction of tonight's game. It has finished at Bloomfield Road, Blackpool 0, Charlton Athletic 1 in what has been a fairly eventful game. A game with a lot of controversy and, to be completely honest, not very glamorous football, but it was Chuks Aneke's second half header that was the difference between the two sides, as Charlton walk away with their fourth clean sheet of the season, their third in a row, and back-to-back victories, while Blackpool fall back into the bottom four after succumbing to another defeat. So as ever, we'll start off with the two teams' lineups and how both managers set up their squad. Starting off with my club Charlton, Lee Bowyer adopted a 4-3-3 formation, which was a formation that we have used a couple of times this season actually. Sometimes it's worked, sometimes it hasn't. So we lined up with Ben Amos in between the sticks, as we always do. A back four of Chris Gunter, Ryan Inniss, Akin Famewo and Ben Purrington. Purrington was brought back into the side in place of Jake Forster-Caskey, who of course scored the winner to beat Wigan last week. We had a midfield three of Ben Watson, Darren Pratley and Andrew Shinnie, and we had an attacking three of Alfie Doughty on the right wing, Omar Bogle up front, leading the line in the middle, replacing Chuks Aneke, and Conor Washington on the left in place of Paul Smyth. I believe Washington is wasted out on the wing. He is a striker, a central player that requires a partner. You put him out on the wing, he's wasted, and that was proven tonight. Washington was, let's face it, non-existent tonight out on that wing, and I think that he needs to be played through the middle. Again, I mentioned it in my match reaction against Wigan. Darren Pratley and Ben Watson on the pitch at the same time. You know straight away that it's going to be negative football. And as you'll find out, and as most of you will know from the game, it was very negative. Let's be totally honest, with the two playing at the same time. And hopefully this is a wake-up call for Bowyer to tell him that these two can't play at the same time, because they're both very similar players. Defensive-minded players that will pass the ball backwards. Now, as for Neil Critchley's Blackpool side, they also adopted the 4-3-3 with a familiar face in between the sticks, Chris Maxwell, who of course came on loan to Charlton during the 2018-19 season, our promotion-winning season. Didn't play a game, but it was nice to see him in the squad. Back four of Ollie Turton, Marvin Ekpateta, James Husband, a left-back playing centre-back, Dimitri Mitchell in the left-back position. A midfield three of Ethan Robson, Jonny Williams and Grant Ward, and a front three of CJ Hamilton, Gary Medine and Ben Woodburn. Woodburn making his debut after signing from Liverpool during the transfer window. Now, obviously, this Blackpool side is very, very different than when it was for last year. I mean, after all, they have signed 17 players, and obviously they were hotly tipped to be one of the most exciting sides in the league with the sheer quality and the amount of signings they've made. CJ Hamilton being one of them, I singled him out as one of their biggest threats going into the game. He's been absolutely fantastic for them so far. I was looking forward to seeing Woodburn play because obviously he didn't get all too much game time with Oxford. So as you all know, the game kicked off in rather dramatic fashion, to say the least, as after 58 seconds, James Husband, the makeshift centre-back, was sent off for the Seaside as Akin Famewo produced a long ball out from the back towards Omar Bogle. Blackpool's defence just completely fell asleep. It was shocking defending from Neil Critchley's side. Husband takes him down, last man, and the centre-back walks and he's sent off after not even a minute played in the game. When I watched it live, I felt there was little to no contact whatsoever. Yes, it is last man, and yes, he should walk. Yes, it is a straight red card, but if you look at it again, it looks accidental, if anything. Husband literally brushes him with his arm. Bogle goes to ground very easily. There's not a lot of contact in it whatsoever, but at the end of the day, it is last man. Husband gets sent off. And obviously, they looked set to play pretty much the entire game with 10 men. However, our fullback Ben Purrington had other ideas, as 4 minutes in he received a bookable offence. Hamilton, a player that I singled out as their biggest threat in the game, absolutely rinsed him for pace. He absolutely had him in his back pocket the entire game. Darted past him like he wasn't even there. Purrington wipes him out, yellow card. With Blackpool down to 10 men, you would naturally think that Charlton would then go on and command the game. Stats-wise, that's exactly what we did. We dominated the ball. Blackpool got nowhere near us. And we did have our chances. Omar Bogle hit the side netting after Alfie Doughty sprinted past Dimitri Mitchell, pulled it back across the box. Bogle nearly I think he was on the edge of the 6-yard box and he's hit the side netting. Doughty, by the way, had Mitchell on skates. Doughty, as I said, was on another level to everyone else. Mitchell was by far the worst performing player for Blackpool. He was absolutely rubbish for them, in my opinion. Absolutely awful. And he was a player that we exploited quite a lot throughout the game because Doughty got the beat out of him far too easily. Ben Purrington also hit the side netting through his chance as well. I think Bogle played it into Doughty. Doughty then laid it off to Chris Gunter, who crossed it in first time. Gunter had a very good game as well. Gunter crossed it in first time. Purrington on arrival drilled it and it bounced and hit the side netting. Gunter also had his chance when Mitchell tried to control the ball, ended up slipping over. Gunter then got hold of the ball, thought he had a left foot, had a shot, went right over the bar and left straight into Rose Ed, probably even out of the stadium towards Blackpool Pier. The thing that we was lacking was the goal. And obviously it was a shame that we didn't take advantage of that. And soon enough, that advantage was gone as Ben Purrington was then dismissed at the 34th minute mark after a second challenge on CJ Hamilton. Hamilton again completely beaten for pace, burnt straight past him, and literally Purrington pulls off a WWE move, wrestles into the ground, arms all over him, brings Hamilton down, and he gets sent off. Do you lot now understand why I don't rate this guy? Seriously, I've said this far too many times. Tonight was the final straw. I've had enough of Purrington. The guy has to walk. He's got to go. It's as simple as that. He is our worst performing player at this club by a country mile. And I've had enough of him. His entire career at this club is hyped upon that goal at Wembley. And that's it. That's all he's done in the time he's been at this club. I was sitting there thinking, okay, we've got 11 men. They've got 10 men. Purrington's on a yellow card. I was sitting there thinking, guarantee you he's going to get sent off, knowing Purrington. Look what happens. We are the dominant team, obviously, because they've got one less man than us. We dominated the ball. We had more chances. We're not taking advantage of it. The last thing we need is to do the typical Charlton thing and make it even. Purrington goes to get sent off. Does the most typical Charlton thing you could possibly think. And I've had enough of him. It's the final straw for me. He was literally being skinned by Hamilton as easy as if he weren't even there. And I've said this so many times. There is literally countless amount of times where Purrington is just defensively inadequate. He's so poor defensively. That first half was probably the most typical Charlton performance you will ever see. They get a man sent off in the first minute. We don't take advantage of it. And then we let them back in the game. That is the most typical thing we could do. Because after Purrington got sent off, Blackpool then came back into it. You know, they only had one shot in the entire half. So obviously they weren't better than us in the first half. No way. Which is, of course, because they had 10 men for the vast majority of it. We go get a player sent off and they get back in the game. It's the most typical Charlton thing in the world. In terms of the stats, we had 65% possession, 6 shots, 0 on target. And that, I'm not being funny, is embarrassing. It is embarrassing, alright? I know it's early stages in the season, but I've said this, I even said this in my transfer video, and I've said this to a couple of people. We lack a goal scorer in this squad. And I've said this, we lack a goal scorer. And if we can't take chances like that for 35 minutes of the game when the other team have 10 men and are in shocking form as they are, no disrespect to Blackpool, but they have been poor this season. Let's not beat around the bush. Blackpool have been poor this season. If we can't score against that team who are down to 10 men when Doughty is ripping Mitchell a new one throughout the entire game, we can't score and then we let them back in. It's quite frankly embarrassing. As I said, the most typical Charlton thing was a very even second half. If there was one team that was going to score or look more than likely to win the game, it was Charlton. Hamilton was still causing us problems. Yates came on for Medine and he also tried to make something work. Berele Labala as well when he came on. I think he came on for Ben Woodburn. Labala also looked to cause problems as well. There were only 2 things to talk about in the second half. Both of them involved Charlton. The first of which was the disallowed goal. Of course, as you all know, it was a corner, I think, around about in the 55th, 60 minute mark, around about that minute. Alfie Doughty was looking to swing in an in-swinging corner. Andrew Shinnie was on the other side about to swing in an out-swinger. Shinnie went, sod that, swung the cross in. Ryan Inniss, the centre-half, gets practically a free header in the box, knocks it down in the back of the net. We're 1-0 up. And we're celebrating for about 20 to 25 seconds. After that period, the linesman raises his flag. And we have no idea what for. The referee goes over, protests from both sides, and the goal doesn't stand. What was initially thought to have happened is that because Shinnie had swung an outswinger, what was thought is that the ball went out of play, then went back in, and Inniss scored. What was then later discovered was that Omar Bogle was offside, and that he'd apparently impeded the goalkeeper. Now, I'll be honest, when the corner was swung in, I was saying this to my dad when we were watching the game, Bogle did look offside. He did look offside. He was literally on the goal line. It was just another example of Blackpool's shocking defence, because let's face it, Inniss, 6'5", you naturally want to mark him, and he got pretty much a free header and he scored. Neil Critchley will have to take that as a lesson learned and a lucky escape, because if you do that now and again, you're going to be conceding goals week in, week out from set pieces. Believe me, I know. Look at last season. Shinnie crossed the ball in, Inniss headed it down, Bogle was offside but didn't touch it. So the fact that Bogle's not touched the ball should mean that him being offside is irrelevant. So the only thing that could possibly be penalised for is either the ball went out of play as it was crossed in, or he impeded the goalkeeper. Inniss has headed it down, Bogle's not involved in play, it's gone in, Inniss goal. So the only thing that could it possibly have been given for was Bogle impeding the keeper. And as I say, I'd have to watch that over. Maatsen replaced Darren Pratley in the second half. This was a change that needed to happen because, as I've said, Watson and Pratley, despite them both playing well, do not work or on the pitch at the same time. They're both negative-minded players, and they're both the same player. You play one or the other. You rotate them. Maatsen came on. I was very happy to see him come on. Of course, replaced Pratley. It was kind of weird because he was kind of adopted in like the left-back position, but he also found himself in the centre of the pitch at half the time. But Maatsen was superb. He was absolutely quality when he came on. Of course, he was picked up against CJ Hamilton, which is something that we needed. Of course, Hamilton with pace, Maatsen with pace. You needed pace to go up against pace. With that, Alfie Doughty was then put back on the right wing. He was initially put back into left back when Purrington got sent off. He was then put back onto the right wing to take on Dimitri Mitchell, someone who, as I said, he had in his back pocket the entire game. That was tactically well done from Bowyer there. Another tactically good substitution was, of course, bringing off Omar Bogle for Chuks Aneke, which, of course, it made sense because those two are both the exact same player. You know, very built, very strong. Bogle is quicker of the two, and again had a very good game today. Very promising. I can definitely see him scoring goals for us this season, but, you know, bringing on Chuks, it did make sense. And, of course, it proved to be a absolutely superb substitution, as it was Big Chuck who got the goal to win us the game. Maatsen got the ball on the left-hand side, swung in a ball. Alfie Doughty, literally by the touchline on the back post, nodded it back in. Chuks Aneke inside the 6-yard box, drills it home with a powerful header into the back of the net for his first goal of the League One season, his third in a Charlton shirt, and that was the difference between the two sides. That won us the game. Once again, another 1-0 victory. Two back-to-back 1-0 victories. Yeah, that's definitely going to do Chuks Aneke the world of good, because Bowyer seems to have confidence in him in that striker position, and I do too. I've been saying this for a very long time. During the behind closed doors period, I don't think I've seen Chuks have a bad performance coming off the bench. The guy is an impact player. I said this when I was watching the game to my dad. You know, I said, Chuks has not had a bad game when he's come off the bench. He's an impact player. And I made this prediction, we're going to win a scrappy 1-0 game. It was a scrappy 1-0 game, because let's face it, it wasn't a glamorous performance from either side. Blackpool weren't very good. We were typical Charlton in letting them back in the game and couldn't take our chances. Wasn't a great performance from us either. But, as I said, if any team was likely to win the game, if there was going to be a team that was going to win, it was going to be us. And thankfully, Chuks took his chance brilliantly, and I'm so happy for him. The whole team and all the fans are bigging him up, which is exactly what he needs, because if Chuks is played to his strengths, I really do think he could grab a couple goals for us this season. Charlton move up 4 places into 11th place. Not that the league table really means anything, as we are only 7 games in, but of course, Charlton do have a game in hand, albeit that is against Ipswich, but they did get spanked by Doncaster 4-1 tonight. Doncaster are in absolutely amazing form right now, but obviously, we do have a game in hand, and although the table doesn't mean anything, we are moving in the right direction. We are now gradually going up the table, playing a lot better than what we were at the start of the season, obviously against Crewe, Donny, Lincoln and Sunderland. Much better performances from there, and against Wigan, it was a hard-fought, blood and guts performance, and I felt that our performance justified the victory. And against Blackpool tonight, it wasn't exactly a great performance. Thankfully, we got the victory, and now we head on to Saturday against Northampton, who of course got a good result tonight by beating Swindon. But again, it is a game that we should be winning, and a game that realistically we need to be be winning. So that is it for this match reaction of Blackpool versus Charlton. I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, can you possibly leave a like, subscribe if you're new around here, and turn on the post notifications so you're notified of when I post. Be sure to subscribe also to my second channel, TJR HD. I'm going to be posting on there at 5 PM tonight, the first episode of the Charlton Athletic Career Mode. This has been Tyler Purrington. Have a nice day, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take it easy, guys, and I'll see you all later.